Next up, talking about pediatric. Now we talk about geriatric, which obviously we all know is elderly, right? Older, older patients. Okay. So I asked my date to meet me at the gym today. She didn't show up. That's when I knew we weren't gonna work out. Sorry, I love those things. All right. So geriatrics, obviously, when we refer to geriatrics, talking 65 and older. It's kind of a negotiable. Some people are 65 and really really healthy. Other people could be 55 and really trouble. So kind of depends, right? So things get complicated, just like with young kids, young humans, old humans, we have issues, right? So we want to be respectful. We want to be patient, right? When we're dealing with that, and make every attempt to avoid ageism. Just because somebody's older doesn't mean they're not capable, right? They might be slower at things. They might be in more pain. There might be complicating factors. Just be respectful and nice, right? So we want to speak respectfully, sir, ma'am. That's kind of old school. Respect. Um, Identify yourself, right? Look at them. You don't want to talk to them like they're kids, right? They are adults. It's easy to find yourself doing that. Even my grandmother, when I go to visit her at the nursing home, to talk normal, right? Talk like you do with an adult. Just talk slowly, talk clearly. One question at a time. Don't assume they're deaf, right? Yada yada. We've talked about a lot of this stuff already. Okay. So what's the deal, right? Well, older people are more predisposed to issues that we don't see in younger people, right? A lot of bone issues, osteoporosis, right? More prone to infection, more prone to pneumonia, right? Because they're not up and about, moving around. So those are all more likely, right? Leading causes of death, right? Um, Big one here, right? Pneumonia. They get sick, they are more likely to die when they get sick. Okay, it's unfortunately a reality. So obviously they deal with a lot of these conditions, but a lot of what kills them is either heart failure or pneumonia. Right? Even if they have cancer, the cancer degrades the system, wears down the system, right? And a lot of times it's pneumonia or an illness that does actually kill them. So it is common. All right, so aging process, right? It changes how the body works. We know that, right? I'm getting old, right? My knees hurt more, right? I can't throw a ball as hard as I used to, right? All those things, musculoskeletal issues, right? But also how the organ systems respond, right? Your body's got some miles on it by that point, right? More likely to get respiratory illness because the musculature is weakened. They're not as active. They're not, right? We're not breathing as hard. Um, the elasticity of the alveoli decreases just from age. Um, right? Your body doesn't react as quickly. The chemoreceptors, nerves don't react as quickly. Okay. So pneumonia, we've talked about that. Pneumonia is just a generic term for inflammation or infection in the lungs. Right? It could be from a variety of causes. Right? It can be fungal, can be bacterial, right? It can be viral, COVID pneumonia, right? It can be a variety of things. It is the leading cause of death, especially from infection. But elderly, a lot of times they get sick, pneumonia gets them. Okay, so a big deal for us is if we are sick, if you're sick, especially if you're dealing with an elderly patient, throw a mask on. Right, you're less likely to give it to them. So again, that's the respect thing, and hopefully with COVID, people are realizing that's not. It used to be if you throw a mask on, people would go, what the heck are you wearing a mask for? Now, hopefully, it becomes kind of a sign of common courtesy. My hope. Pulmonary embolism is a blockage, right? Usually a clot, could be air embolism. Essentially, it's a clot that prevents the blood flow to the lungs from going properly, starts to back up blood into the heart. It's kind of a bad deal. Chest pain, can't breathe, right? Usually comes on suddenly. And our best bet, get them to the hospital and get them treated for that. So hypertrophies with age, right? Gets bigger, gets more muscular, right? It's been pumping for a while. Okay. The other thing that right? That's that is arteriosclerosis. Hardening of the arteries will cause the heart to have to work harder, right? So what is it? It's essentially hardening of the walls, fat cholesterol deposits. Even if it's not a blockage per se, we think of cholesterol as being, a blockage. Well, it's not even that. It builds up over time and it hardens the arteries more so sometimes than even constricting it. Okay. Um, Aneurysms are more likely to form because of weakness in the arteries, right? When everything gets old, hey, for the record, that was left-handed. The arterial walls weaken, which makes them more likely to split, crack, get a hole where it creates a bubble, which is what an aneurysm is, right? So everything wears down with time, plain and simple. Okay, human body as well. So the better we take care of it when we're younger, I know I'm one to talk, the longer it's going to last. So, venous stasis, right? The veins don't work properly; they lose their elasticity. That's what that's saying. So the blood doesn't come back as well as it should, right? When we're moving around, right, it forces the blood back up, right? It's against gravity. As you get older, you're not moving around as much. The veins lose their elasticity. You're going to run into more problems with that, with clots and stuff forming. So thrombosis is okay. Heart attack. The older you get, now it's not my chest hurts radiating down my arm. You don't get the classic symptoms. It changes. So we have to look for different symptoms there. Not always as pronounced. Not always pains in the same spots, right? So, now, right and left-sided failure. We've talked about this a little bit in the past, but we're going to talk about it a little bit again. When you have because it is more common with elderly. When you have right-sided heart failure, okay, remember where the left goes to the body, right goes to the lungs. If the right side of heart failure is the right side of your heart is failing, the left side is going to keep pushing blood out, but it's not going to come back and get pushed into the lungs as well as it should. So it's going to kind of pool in the rest of the body, usually in big gravity, legs. Right? So it's going to pool in the legs. So we're going to get edema in the legs, swelling essentially, fluid buildup in the legs. Right? You're not going to be able to move as well, right? Pains, etc. Okay. In the left-sided heart failure, it's not going out to the body. It's coming in. It's going to back up into the lungs, right? Because it's not coming from the lungs to the left side and then out is where it's getting backed up, right? So pulmonary edema, which is fluid buildup, that's where you get the red frothy stuff that they're coughing up, right? Because there's blood backed up into the lungs. Okay. And they may have nocturnal dyspnea. Can't sleep when they're laying down. Right? Kind of a scary deal. Stroke. Right? A lot of the same problems that would lead to heart issues, arteriosclerosis, aneurysm, weakening of the walls, all that stuff, thrombosis, clots, all of that stuff causes a increase in the likelihood of stroke. Okay. Preventable risk factors. We keep talking about our lifestyles, and again, I know I'm one to talk. Okay, we eat too much, we exercise too little, and that makes all of this stuff worse. Okay, and it's only going to get worse because as generations progress, we become less healthy. Okay, my grandfather, and grandmother were never overweight. My grandpa was skinny as a rail his whole life. Okay, did smoke, so hopefully some of those things are working in our factor. But the guy worked his whole life, and he was never obese, never big. I don't think he had hypertension. Okay, but as the generations progress, we're less healthy, so we're going to get more and more of this. Okay. Hemorrhagic stroke, that's where we get a bleed, right? Hemorrhagic bleeding, hemorrhage. They are more likely to be fatal, right? You can't bust the clot. When you got an ischemic stroke where there's a clot or a blockage, you can clear the clot, clear the blockage, and a lot of times, with hopefully minimal effects. Not the case with hemorrhagic strokes. it's a broken blood vessel, and usually those are fatal, more likely to be fatal. Not always, but I would say probably usually. Okay. So remember, this is the epitome of the golden hour. Okay. The faster we can get that person clot busting drugs or to the cath lab and get that cleared out, the more likely they are to make a full recovery. Okay. So that, remember, we've talked about stroke. We've talked about a lot of these things, but that's the epitome of the golden hour with the stroke. Fast scale, face, right, arms, speech, and time. Remember those? We'll talk about them again. That's where it comes back on. Remember transischemia? Those are mini strokes, right? They call them mini strokes. Those will, come and go, right? They'll be hopefully relatively minor stroke that will resolve on its own. Sign of things to come, oftentimes. All right, changes in the nervous system. Okay, they don't think as fast or clearly. Memory problems, right? They can't answer as quickly. Okay, why? The brain is starting to wear out, right? You're losing mass, losing body mass, losing height, right? The brain is included in that. Okay, can't smell as well, can't taste as well. Old people are notorious for putting tons of salt on their food because they can't taste as well. Can't see as well. Cataracts, you know what those are basically clouding in the lenses. They oftentimes can be fixed, but tear production. Notice that with my grandmother, her eyes are always kind of running. Right? Inability to stay up close. That's ask Schultz. Even usually in your 40s and 50s, you'll see adults where they have to kind of hold the phone or hold things away from them to see it. Knock on wood, I'm not there yet, but it happens. Okay, basically that's due to the fact that the muscles that focus your eyes start to wear out. You're getting old. Lots of things here, right? Glaucoma, other issues with the eyes are often common, so there'll be vision problems. Hearing problems, obviously we know a lot of times older people don't hear as well. Okay, just in general. Okay, problems with balance, because that's your inner ear. Just things start to wear out. If somebody worked in an area where there was loud noise, whether it's mining, farming, military, etc., those will factor in sometimes too. Okay, so I know mine from growing up on the farm. My hearing isn't great. I lose in background noise. I can't hear as well. But I'm not even that old yet. I'm getting there. Taste, obviously can't taste as well. Touch, right? Kind of like kids, the hot and cold thing. More prone to, A, they can't move as fast. B, they can't feel as well. If they touch something hot, it can burn them and they don't even realize it, or they get burned pretty badly before they realize it. Okay. Dementia. What is dementia? It's essentially a breakdown of neurologic function. Right? Can't think as well, can't move as well, don't interact as well. Alzheimer's is oftentimes Alzheimer's and dementia go hand in hand. Alzheimer's has a definitive cause, that's why it's different, but they often go hand in hand. It's breakdown of specific areas of the brain. Right? There might be causes, head injury type in the past, or it could be just natural progression. Okay. How do we recognize it? You might see a lot of these things. You can read through those on your own, but this is a big one you just want to be prepared for with dealing with a dementia patient. Okay, they might be confused, okay, and they might be easily irritated. What are you doing? Why are you making me do this? You might see some of that stuff. Okay, delirium is different. Okay, delirium is a sudden change, right? And we deal with that at any age, delirium. But essentially, it's kind of like dementia, but sudden onset. Okay. And this is where you get some people that are clear some days and not others. So it's more of a sudden come, sudden go, right? And a lot of times there's a reason for it that can be reversible, whether they're low blood sugar or there's a hormone imbalance or some of that type of stuff going on. So I think, we'll do this one. Syncope. Syncope is fainting, right? It's a loss of consciousness. And we don't know what causes it all the time, right? You get called to somebody faints, we don't know. So just like always, we assume it's life-threatening until we know it's not. Okay? But you can read some of the causes here. But essentially, fainting can be like your body's reset button.